So let me give you a little bit of setup. There's a great quote from Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, that said, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your application, then you waited too long to launch. And that's very true. Okay. I'm just telling you now. Being a creature of technology, we do know that everything is an iterative process. That's why we have version numbers on everything we do, because we know there will always be something more we can do. So when we launched the Thinker's Notebook, the initial version of the app was literally just to codify our idea of capturing and sharing. And we did it in just an okay fashion. It wasn't great. And through the multiple versions, version 2, where we introduced more images we could capture, slight improvements to it, we knew that we were going to make something better, but we had to get there. And so several months ago, Jared and Daniel and I locked ourselves in a conference room with our Thinker's Notebook. Guarantee you that was the case. And we spent a couple of days really trying to understand at a very high level, what is it that our users were telling us that they needed? And what was it that was keeping them from being engaged in the app? And so through that process, we wrote a lot of notes. We sat down together and just really used the brainwriting techniques that we talked about to identify what the problem areas are, but more importantly, what is the experience? To that end, for the past several months, while Daniel has been releasing iterative updates to our current version, he has also been assembling a team that have been working with him to create up the next version of the Thinker's Notebook app, which will be launched in beta in August of this year. So what you're about to see is the investment of time and material that Daniel and his team have put together to really sit there and move us to an entirely new experience with the Thinker's Notebook. So with that said, Daniel, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. That was a great intro. I remember those days in the conference rooms thinking about all these ideas, and it's so much fun to be able to make the things that we talked about before, and work my way through that. So really quick, I'm going to set up screen sharing, so you might want to click on mine to make it bigger. So we'll go ahead and open this up. This is the new app. So here we go. You can see a few different things on here. The first thing I want to point out is that to make organization better, instead of having just one list, we actually created a new folder system. So that way you can organize all of your different notes into these different folders. So you can have, different folders for, say, school or work or any area of your life or project that you want to work on. And then we see here some recent, so quick access to the different notes that you captured. And we'll talk a little bit more about the notes in a little bit and the different types of notes that you can capture. But first I want to focus on showing you the folders a little bit. So here we have one for main. And basically whenever you capture something and without putting it into a folder, it'll come here. So this will be the default folder for everybody. But you see here's a few different notes within this folder. And we have, the title, the description. We'll talk a little bit more about the sharing capabilities of notes and folders in a little bit as well. And the different notes in here as well. So, we have this other folder, examples. And then we have some different note types within here as well. And I'll show you those a little bit more in a minute too. But one thing I wanted to show you is, the process of creating new folders and the different things you can do to customize your view. So these gray folders are pretty nice, but we wanted to add a little bit more personality to it and customization. So let's go create a new note. And so as you see here, it's actually defaulted to a color, and we can change that color. So we can have different color folders within that view. So I'll actually keep it on this one. I'm going to name this as work. And yeah, feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions, but we'll also be answering questions at the end as well. So I'm just going to call this one work, and this is of course the Thinker's color, so I'll keep that. And then we have this switch for work, so you can make it public or not. And then we'll talk about the sharing. Description, we can add a description really quick. And then if we create that, see now we have our new work folder. So that way we can, create any different color folders within here. So that way you can very easily distinguish between them and, recognize the color very fast. So you can click on your different projects or such. But while colors are cool and we have, some good options and everything, we wanted to take a little bit further for the customization and personality. And so let's create a new folder, and we're going to call this one School. And as you see here, we have this image option right here. So we'll go ahead and click this image. And we can pick from either taking an image, choosing from our library, or an Unsplash library. And so Unsplash is a service that provides images, stock images. So if we go here, we can actually search school.
Oh, I love that.
And then we can pick out of any of these options as an image for the background of our folder. So one of the ones I really liked is this one. As you see, it'll update. So there's the new background for this folder for school. We'll go ahead and make this shared so I can show you that sharing functionality in a little bit. And I'll go ahead and put a description in there as well. There we go.
Okay, pass.
And then so we create that. And as you see here, now we have these awesome, I think this is one of my favorite features, are these images for these folder backgrounds. So that way you could very easily, pick any image you want or create your own.
Yeah, that looks good.
Unsplash is amazing.
Yeah, I love Unsplash. And when we,
Agreed.
when we figured out that we can import that functionality in here and provide all of that, awesome images here for you to pick from, we jumped all over that. So let's actually move into that school folder. You see now this is an empty folder, of course, but we have that background here. The description, the title. This is the link that you'll be able to share, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But within here, you'll see the different notes that you create. But actually, to provide a little bit more organization on top of what we have, we wanted to create subfolders. So I'll actually show you that. So let's go ahead and create the subfolder. And then what school? So maybe art class. And then so we'll pick, we can even add in some emojis into this. So that we have art class. And let's add a description really quick.
This is the iPhone version. Is the Android version going to be much different?
So the Android version, when we create that, will be pretty close. It'll, of course, offer all the same functionality. We wanted to focus on making it the most efficient and quick process for iOS. So we've created the iOS version first, and then we are going to move into the Android version afterwards, similar to how we did the last update with the Android version.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So let's go ahead and pick an image for this one as well. And then these abstract ones I like quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and create that. And there we have our subfolders. So within these folders, you'll be able to have subfolders, which can go, as deep as you want. You can have folders within folders. And then, of course, notes alongside that.
We knew that it was important because one of the complaints that we received is, while tags are helpful, they're not as helpful as organizing your notes into a folder subfolder system. So we'll be one of the first and few apps out there that actually not only use the folder system, but also allow you to personalize and customize that, so that the folder is no longer just a bland representation of a traditional file folder. It actually has imagery associated with it. You'll also notice under school, that little white icon there in the bottom right-hand corner indicates that it's a shared folder. So you can, from this screen, quickly see what folders are shared with others versus folders that may be personal that you have not shared out to the public.
Thank you, Sean.
But there's more.
Yeah. So now the thing we're going to talk about is the different types of notes. So of course, before we had, the ability to capture your Thinker's Notebook. And of course, we have that in here as well. You can capture your Thinker's Notebook, and we've included a lot more machine learning and optimizations to that as well. But one thing I wanted to talk about is on top of your Thinker's Notebook, we knew everybody wanted to capture different types of notes. So we have these different types of notes now. So, whether you wanted to capture maybe an audio recording or a video and take a picture of a whiteboard, or create just a text note similar to your Apple Notes, or just a document or photo, you can capture anything you want and have these different types of notes.
That is amazing. That is so cool. I love the way it looks is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that too. I quit using Evernote not too long ago in favor of Notion. And one of the things that really irritates me is how difficult it's been to just find like a note-taking app that both does voice, but I could also write in if I want to, kind of on the fly. So anyway,
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I like
Awesome.
the whiteboard option.
Yeah, the whiteboard I've been using quite a bit for taking notes on the different things. And whenever we go into these meetings and then we put everything on the whiteboard, same with the documents and the thinkers, and that way we can share it within the team as well.
And you'll notice how the iconography that we're using, both in the capture process, is reflected in the actual note itself by appending the icon to the lower right-hand corner. So that, again, visually, you can not only see a representation of what you captured, but also the type that it is beyond the description. Because it was imperative to us that you should be able to come in and quickly identify your work, your note. Because performance is not just the app performance. It's the ability to quickly capture and find the things that you captured. So we felt that not only could we create a more rich experience for capturing, but also create a better experience for finding all those notes that you've captured. Really going from this idea of capturing the physical world and putting it into the cloud.
Thank you, Sean. So the next thing we'll touch on are the actual notes, what they look like whenever you capture them, and we'll start with the thinker's note. And so basically a thinker's note is actually just a capture from your thinker's notebook. So we'll come here, and this is one page captured from my thinker's notebook. And what we'll touch on first here is here's the title and a description that we can add to these notes. And by default, whenever you capture any kind of note type, we actually auto add a title and description, so that way you don't have to immediately name it or worry about what to call it or add a description while you're doing it. And so what we wanted to focus on is very, very quick capture of these notes and or some audio recordings or video, so you're not stumbling around trying to figure out how to name it before you can save it. So it will by default add these titles that will give you information about what kind of note it is, when it was captured, at what time, by who it was captured. And one of the things I'm working on right now is location. So that way, if you enable location, you'll actually be able to see where it's captured as well. So that way, whenever you can search through your notes, you can actually search a location and see, where are all the notes that I captured at work.
So let me give you a story of how that's used. I have a little card I use for our public storage unit, and I always forget it, so I captured it in the app. But next time I go to public storage and pull up the app, it'll see my location, and it'll know this was the last note I took at this location. So imagine going from school to your home, from your home to your office, from your office to a client meeting, from the client meeting over to a cafe. As you take notes along that journey, we are recording the location if you turn it on, so that the most recent thing that you captured in that location is first and foremost on your file system, so that you can quickly open it and see what's there.
Wow.
And so as you see here, we do still have tags, and we have the default tags and these custom tags that you can add. And I'll actually show you, we can edit this note here. So that way we can edit the title, make it shared. We can edit which folder it's in, the description. And of course we can add and remove tags as well. So then if we, add all of these, you'll see all of those tags in there now.
One improvement that we're making across all the note types, and I'll use audio, video, whether it's a document, whether it's a thinker's note, we are also implementing and working behind the scenes on machine learning technology, so that we can do handwriting recognition. So that if we can identify handwriting on the page, we append that to this note. The reason for that is so that we can search for the information in there. So it's not really a transcription service. People don't really take notes in linear format. We tend to, like this graphic, show different thoughts and different spatial relationship. But the ability to search for words within those notes, or to search for the voice, audio that you captured and being able to go and reference that. We are appending machine learning to every single type of note we capture, and that'll be appended onto this page so that, again, you can go through, see the words that are automatically captured, as well as be able to search for them later. Makes the notes a lot easier to find when you need to get them in the future.
Thank you. And then, so I'll show you this thinker's note. This one I've actually captured a lot of images you can see here, a lot of pages from my thinker's note. And you can cycle through those and see which ones are in there. And of course, you
Is
can
there a
click on.
way? Oh, sorry. Is there a way to make it bigger or to
Yep.
zoom in? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just a preview. Once you click on this large note, you can click on it. And this will bring up this view, which you can actually scroll through those images, zoom into those, see what's going on.
Okay, cool.
Ignore my messy notes.
No, we're loving them.
But and then yeah, of course we have all these editing options down at the bottom as well that we had before. So you can crop, add more, delete some pictures, rotate, and then filter the different colors. And that will offer all of that. So we'll touch on a few different note types really quick. So we have right here the thinkers. This one is actually a document. So the thinkers note type is very optimized towards your thinker's notebook. So it'll do a lot of, you know, custom things that we can do because we know the exact format of that. Things like taking out the title and the date from the note and putting those as the title. But the document will allow you to capture any other type of document, such as a, you know, page, or this is actually out of a book that I have. So here we have, you know, this different type of format for documents that you can scan.
And by default, our machine learning will transcribe the text on the page, append it to the note so you can search for it later. So while you have both the visual imagery, you also have the textual information so that you can find it.
You got it. And then we'll go to examples and I'll show you actually a photo note. So here you can see you can capture a photo. This is an example of that. I took a picture of the new microphone that I got, you know, so that way I can share that with somebody else.
And what's beautiful about our machine learning integration is we are right now testing out all of the main machine learning libraries so that we can append to this note the fact that it is a microphone. So if you ever need to search again for all your images of microphones, you should be able to do it within the app, all automated behind the scenes for you.
See, so I think the last thing that we should touch on is we have the folders here. And of course, as before, we wanted them to be easily shareable and shareable with anyone, not just, you know, another person that has the app or the notebook. Anyone, whether they have an account or not, can see, you know, we should be able to share that with them and then get their feedback on it. So as you see here in the top, we actually have this shareable, so you can make this note shared. And so what that does is it marks it as public. So if it is private, no one will ever be able to access it from anywhere except for you on your logged in device. If you share it, you actually generate this URL, which you can share to others, so that way they can see this note on the web. So anyone can go to that link that you share with them, and they can see all of the content here, comment on it, and then you'll be able to see those comments within. So I'm going to show you an example of that, of actually sharing this whole folder, because not only can we share just the notes, but the entire folder. So one thing that I like about this is if I have a folder for say art class or math, I can actually share that entire folder with my classmates, so that way they can see, you know, my notes for math. So I don't have to go and send it to everyone. I can just share that link and I can add to it and they will get all of those. So as you see here, we have this link, and if I click on it, it's going to show me a representation of what this looks like on the web and what other people will see whenever I share that link to them.
Do people get notified when you make changes to the note or the folder?
That is a great question. Sean?
Yes. The answer to your question is yes. You're looking right now at the web view of this, whether it's on the phone or your desktop, it will carry the same characteristics. It'll show who shared it, all the same information, as well as the ability to sort and review the folders and notes in there. But you'll notice in the bottom right-hand side where that little bell is, where it says updates. One of the things we are implementing is the ability to get either an email or SMS or text notification whenever anything is added to that note or folder that contains that note. So back to his example of school, which is something I'm sure a lot of us remember. Hey, do you have the notes from math class? Well, now I can send that link to them, and when they subscribe to updates, they will get a text on their phone to say that Daniel has added something new to it. It's an important part of the way that we want to engage with people so that sharing information does not become dependent on the device or the software, but is something built into every computer that you're using today.
Awesome.
Great, thank you. So yes, as you can see, you know, it keeps all of it, and any notes that I add to this or folders will show up in there as well. So that's really the high level of all of the features that we have put in here so far. There's a lot more that we are working on, as Sean touched on, in the machine learning and the optimizations that we can do to make things easier for you. So he mentioned like location before. Here we have this recents, but imagine if you were in a location where you captured kind of like the storage room that you were talking about. It would show that section here that's like, oh, these were captured right beside, you know, where you currently are, so it can easily access things fast and organize them.
Can you describe the messages, or did I miss that?
So messages is something we're still working on, but anytime someone comments on any note that or folder that, well, actually any note, excuse me, that you have, it will appear in messages. So it will alert on your phone like a normal notification alert, as well as messages will be highlighted so that you know someone has commented on a file. When you click on that, it will take you right to the note that you captured and open up the comments so you can see their comments on there. So a big part of our philosophy is we want to be able to make it not only easy to capture the notes, but the sharing process to be collaborative in nature. So that if I'm collaborating on an audio file, a whiteboard, a document, a thinker's note, anytime someone touches their screen or clicks their mouse, adds a comment to it, it'll appear back on your main screen where it says messages, both as a on-screen alert as well as the messages being highlighted in that bottom right-hand corner. A lot of the functionality is built for it, though the interface is still being refined, specifically because of something Daniel found, really Daniel and his team. I'm not going to give him all the credit, but he and his team found a really beautiful way of showing comments to users that he has yet to implement because he just found it on Wednesday. But that's where the message functionality is. The other thing that we don't necessarily have, Daniel, can we go to settings?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to show settings,
if
which
you
is
see this top right here is how you access the settings.
Settings is something that, you know, normally doesn't sound very interesting, and it generally isn't. Obviously, what type of account that you have, how much space that you are using. But you'll notice under preferences, the cloud sync functionality. What we are embedding into this app is the ability to automatically sync all of your notes and folders to whatever third-party cloud storage system you're using. So for example, I use Dropbox. It would be nice that every note and folder structure that I create in this application is immediately synced over to Dropbox so that I can see those images, those notes, those audio files in the nested structure that is in my app in my Dropbox folder. So this way we don't have to worry about, oh, I need to take it from here and send it there. It'll automatically be there for you. This is a big feature that we are excited to put in, and is something behind the scenes that we're working on right now. So I believe that when you look at how this is put together, we wanted to not only store your files in the cloud on our secure storage, but make it easy for you to integrate it into other online cloud storage systems that you use by default, all with the cloud sync working behind the scenes. Thank you, Daniel.
Sean, how would you differentiate Thinker's Notebook from Evernote? I know Patrick, the other Patrick, apparently doesn't like Evernote, but it's still one of my main
it's a great question.
Features. And
I would say that Evernote, and I'm going to write about this. I'll give you a synopsis of what I'm going to write about. Why would anyone ever write something that is a new note application, right? And when you have Evernote or Apple Notes, right? Apple Notes comes on every iPhone. Evernote is ubiquitous. Everyone has it. There's a couple of reasons. First off, Evernote's really expensive to do anything. It's also very complex. It's so complex that they're actually going through and rewriting their entire user experience because people have complained that they put too much in there. But I think it's deeper than that philosophically. You see, what our app, we hope to position it as, is that we believe that the best ideas exist here in the physical world. The whiteboards that we sketch out on, the pieces of paper that we're writing on, the audio of someone talking, the video of someone speaking, those pictures and audio and video exist in the physical world. And too many of the apps have been created with what we like to call a digital first mentality. They were built by engineers on a desktop so that on your desktop you can engage with their tool. And byproducts like taking a picture are really just afterthoughts in their philosophy. It's not to say they can't do it. It's just not a function and focus of their effort. We took a different approach. We knew that capturing the physical world, we've got to get really good at that. And from that, we need to be able to make it easy for you to organize and find it later. And then on top of which, we knew you needed to share it. And one of the complaints we see with Evernote and OneNote and every note system out there, including Apple Notes, try to share a file with someone when they don't have the same system that you do. You know, Apple Notes, you can't share with somebody on their Android phone. They have to have an Apple account to do that. Evernote, better have an Evernote account. Dropbox, better have a Dropbox account. I don't want to have to create up a new account just so I can see your notes from my class. I just want to be able to see them and get updates when you make changes to them. So we believe this positioning of taking the physical world and making it convenient to capture, store, organize, and share it in the digital world is something that'll set us apart. We've got a long road to go on this, and we think this version 3 will be the foundational framework that we can make that happen towards the future. And hopefully, with your input and the beta testers' input and everyone who's involved, we can continue that iterative process based on this philosophy of taking the physical world and putting it into the cloud so we can share and collaborate on it together.